And hello, everybody. Welcome once again to Gaffing the Truth. My name is Jeff with a G, and my good friend right over there is the inimitable and inappropriate Skabz the Clown. How's it going, Skabz?
It's going, man. Things are going all right. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. As the world is slowly opening up again, it's kind of interesting to see. Um, I have my second vaccine shot on Sunday, so we'll see how that goes.
Yep, I get mine on Thursday.
So yeah, I think I was original. I think the original plan is for me to get it this past Sunday, but because it was Easter, I don't think they were doing it on Easter, unfortunately.
Yeah, which is rude.
I know,
It's not like
right?
Easter's that important.
That's what I was saying. I mean, you know what I did for Easter? I watched Godzilla versus Kong and ate pizza.
Yeah, you finally
That's
watched it. What'd you think of it? I don't want to put too many spoilers out while we're live, but what'd
Oh
you think
no,
of it?
pretty much. I don't want to do that. Basically, I want to say is like if you like Godzilla movies, it's definitely a Godzilla movie. That's
And yeah, I'm definitely a Godzilla nerd. It
so.
was
That's one thing.
the ending was predictable,
But that's. I mean, there's some
especially
stuff
after
I.
that third element came to
Well,
be.
that yeah, it's there's some small things I kind of quibble on, especially the fact is that I don't know. Like it's oh, man, I don't want to spoil it, but there's one weird. I want to call it a Deus Ex Machina thing for Kong that pops in that I was really kind of not. I don't want to say I was not happy about it, but it's one of the things that I get why they did it. I just didn't like it happening. So that's just me.
Yeah,
Anyways,
there was
but
some
yeah,
super intense scenes in it that were really good, but like, yeah, people are complaining about the plot line. I'm like, it's a fucking kaiju movie. Like, why are you complaining about a fucking plot line? Like,
it's a Godzilla movie. That's what
yeah,
it's. Big dumb animals terrorizing cities, fighting each other. That's what it is.
yeah,
Now, if you want
and
to
I
get into
fucking love it.
you want to talk about the human stuff, all right, kind of, yeah, I get it. But Brian Tyree Henry, who plays the conspiracy theorist guy,
Mm-hmm.
I love that dude. Like he's on Atlanta,
Yeah, he did a
and
really good job. Like, I
I,
liked his character a lot.
I like, yeah, it's like it's a really like it's one of those kind of. Like, I know it sounds weird, but it's kind of cool to see like a black guy be the weird nerd.
Yeah, no, I feel that.
So
I really do.
And for a guy that I've only ever seen play like hardcore thug rapper sorts, to play that sort of character, which I thought was awesome. So that's like, and
Oh
then
yeah.
it's, so I just went, oh, that's good, smart casting, and like,
Mm-hmm.
so cool. Anyway, so yeah, go check it out. It's on HBO Max right now, or you go see it in the theater. I'm not seeing movies in theater until I'm fully vaxxed, and even then, I'm still kind of leery. But I probably
Yeah,
will
I mean,
eventually.
as much as I would love to see that in theaters, I'm not a huge movie nerd anyway. So, yeah, it was great
Well,
on
it's
TV.
yeah, no, I've got a nice big television here, so I was happy to do it that way. Eventually, there will
Mm-hmm.
be a movie that will not be available on HBO Max as well that I'll need to go see it in the theater. That all might be in a minute because the next big movie I want to see is also on HBO Max, so I don't have to go. Which, by the way,
Yeah.
April 23rd, Mortal Kombat. Uh,
Oh yeah, man, I might have to go see Mortal Kombat in theaters. That looks so
I
good.
may do both. I might do both. I might watch it at home and then go see it in the theater. Or, if it times out well, because that weekend I'll be in Houston and maybe we might like go catch Mortal Kombat. We can go catch Mortal Kombat before going for
Yeah,
doing a thing.
hell yeah, we'll go do a mandate. Have some drinks, watch some movies, or watch a movie.
Get some drinkies. Maybe go like to the
Mm-hmm.
Alamo or so, go to an Alamo and if the Alamos are open down there and just get some drinkies.
Yeah, we'll make Joe be our designated driver.
Ooh, there we go. And then we roll up to the club afterwards. All right, you guys want to see some stuff? So like
Oh
normal.
man.
Uh, anyway, but we digress because we want to talk about what we're on here for, gaffing the truth. So today, in honor of the holidays, because we had just had Easter, we're going to talk about the Vatican. Bum bum bum, the Vatican, and
Mm-hmm.
because we got it because it's the holidays, and plus, I
Oh
just
yeah.
thought it was. It's like one of those things. Like it's one of the oldest, or it's one of the oldest continuous organizations in the world. So yeah, they got some skeletons, and so
Hmm.
I figured it'd be kind of fun to talk about that sort of stuff. And so I want to talk about. I'm going to start off, if you don't mind. So, what I want to talk about is first, where is the thing? So, I want to talk about the fact is there's a thing called let's talk about the cardinal Siri thesis, CIRI. So Siri, like your which is weirdly coincidental using our Apple products. Um, so back in 1958, Cardinal Siri, a very very staunch conservative, was going up to be pope during the conclave of the cardinals. And then, of course, as part of the conclave of cardinals, for those people who aren't aware, when they've decided on who the next pope is, they'll billow out smoke and then announce who it is. And so apparently, wait, let me figure this. Vatican officials at the time when there has, they actually said that they misput the wrong log into the, because basically every day they put out smoke. Like if it's black smoke, they haven't made a decision. White smoke, they've made a decision. Well, apparently, supposedly, they put the wrong log in that day. Uh, so it was, so that way they had made a decision. And so, but Siri thought he had won. But he claims that he was actually unseated through the nefarious machinations of liberal cardinals. Sounds familiar with some stuff, especially today. And they replaced Siri with the Cardinal Angelo Roncalli, who became the first quote unquote false pope when he became John the 23rd. But that's not all. In 1963, once again, had to get a new pope because all they kept electing is old dudes. Uh, Supposedly, that Syria was once again bested by quote unquote evil forces within the church and was replaced by the Cardinal Giovanni Battista Montini, who became the second quote unquote false pope when he became Pope Paul VI. Um, some series partisans blame not only liberal cardinals but also unspecified outside forces that threaten the Vatican with nuclear annihilation if Syria was actually created pope. Um, Syrian conspiracists contend that the cardinal was then exiled to a Roman monastery in order to remain silent. As proof, they cited a 1985 interview because the dude was still living, where he said that I am bound by the secret and I can say nothing. Some also claim that he actually told a Vietnamese priest back in 1988 that he was the true pope. So yeah, apparently since 1958 we have not had a true pope.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I guess that kind of goes into one of the things that I looked up. Okay, so the Pope is basically just like the the king of Catholicism. Like, I, I
Something
guess I
like
can't
that.
really think of a better way to put it.
Yeah, that's basically what it is. It's the
Yeah,
president of the church.
yeah. I mean, they call the Vatican a palace, and it's where the Pope resides. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, the king of Catholicism is the best I could come up with for what Pope means. I mean, I'm sure I could look up what Pope means real quick, but there's apparently a book called The Bad Popes, and it's just got a list of like popes who did like fucked up shit. I found the Wikipedia of it, so it's just really brief. But The Bad Popes is a 1969 book by E.R. Chamberlain documenting the lives of 8 of the most controversial popes, papal years in parentheses. Pope Stephen the man, I hate Roman numerals. V is a 5, right?
That is a 5, yes.
Yeah. So Pope Stephen the Sixth, who had his predecessor Pope Formosus exhumed, tried, defingered, briefly reburied, and thrown in the Tiber River.
Of course, like you do.
Yeah. Pope John the 11th, who gave land to a mistress, murdered several people, and was killed by a man who caught him in bed with his wife. Pope Benedict the Ninth, who sold the papacy, Pope Boniface the Eighth, who is lampooned in Dante's Divine Comedy, Pope Urban the Sixth, who complained that he did not hear enough screaming when cardinals who had conspired against him were tortured, Pope Alexander the Sixth, a Borgia, who was guilty of nepotism and whose unattended corpse swelled until it could barely fit in a coffin.
Oh yeah, the
Pope Leo the
Borgias.
Tenth. What?
Yeah, the Borgias are infamous.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Pope Leo the Tenth, a spendthrift member of the Medici family who once spent 1/7 of his predecessor's reserves on a single ceremony. Fuck.
It's Medici, not Medici.
Medici. Okay, yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't read Italian, but yeah,
That's fine.
that's yeah. I guarantee you're right. Pope Clement the Seventh, also a Medici, whose power politicking with France, Spain, and Germany got Rome sacked.
Yeah. So
Fuck.
think of think of the Medici's and the Borgias and all that. It's like these like uber like super rich families in Italy, and like so like just like the Rockefellers, Kennedys, and whatnot. Think of that like today. And so yeah, they were the papacy to be the pope was like the ultimate like that's the ultimate get for trying to for when it comes to political power because the church oversaw all countries. It superseded everybody because God's will, quote unquote, was stronger than any king's. So all these ruthless, awful people wanted that seat.
Yeah, I just random. You know how like Google gives like other suggested questions that people have asked. I was
Yeah,
kind of looking at those, and the last one is: do they check the Pope's balls? And the answer is a cardinal would have the task of putting his hand up the hole to check whether the Pope had testicles or doing a visual examination. The procedure is not taken seriously by most historians, and there is no documented instance. So it's just right,
yeah.
right.
You want to know why, right? Because it's at one point nerdiness back in the I don't know 16th 17th century the papacy split for a while and there were two popes and for the heretical popes one of them was a woman so I think that's where that
Mm.
comes into play
So
so
they just made that rule: Pope's got to have balls.
yeah it's kind of how it is I mean
Yeah,
in
yeah.
Catholic
It definitely
churches
seems like a boys' club,
yeah
and they
Catholic
do like
churches
they do like their
yeah
boys.
that's true although there are actually were convents of sex nuns for a long
Oh
time for
yeah.
the
Who was the other one I was just looking at? Pope Alexander the Sixth is considered one of the most controversial of the Renaissance popes, partly because he acknowledged fathering several children by his mistresses. So
no what I mean
it's
like there were like convents of sex nuns as in up until like the mid 60s of the last century like 1960s there were known convents of sex nuns that priests would go and visit that convent to relieve them of urges to make sure that everything is cool and groovy
yeah, but it's okay because religion.
and they're doing it for God.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
that's some weird, crazy shit.
and it's okay. How many popes were any popes murdered? The circumstances have ranged from martyrdom, Pope Stephen I, to war, Lucius II, to a beating by a jealous husband, Pope John the XI. A number of other popes have died under circumstances that some believe to be murder, but for which definitive evidence has not been found.
Yeah, it's nothing like the person coming in to be the one to lead the investigation for their predecessor. That he died by happenstance. No, of course there's no foul play. Anyway, on somebody DJ, sweep, sweep, sweep. Anyway, so about that war. Uh, yeah, no, that's it's a really like the Catholic Church, just the popes alone. That is such a crazy, crazy time, especially during the Renaissance, where but it was, as I said, it was a political seat that everybody tried to get. It wasn't a calling of of divineness or whatnot. People wanted it because they could accumulate tons of fucking money for themselves and their family, and two is they can lord it over the people who. Oh yeah, you're king. Well, I'm pope. I mean, that's the
Yeah.
Borgias, and that was Borgia in a nutshell. It's just, and here I'm going to give all this power to my kids, who are really, really awful people as well. Now, what's really cool about all this stuff, like what's interesting about the Vatican is why I am not. We've well established this in previous shows, and this and in me, I'm not a religious person. But there's one thing I actually would love to go to Vatican City for one reason. They have a thing called the Vatican Archives, which is up in the northwest side of the Vatican City, which has well, let me get the size. 5 miles worth of shelving that holds approximately around 70,000 pages and a million books. And they range in everything from topics as like just like the bookkeeping of the Vatican itself, all that sort of stuff, like daily sort of thing. But rumor has it there's weird, crazy shit that's in those archives, ranging from the books that didn't make it into our current into the current Bible, which
Mm.
I mean, there's the Convention of Pharisee, which is like that they basically decided what goes in the Bible, what doesn't. To other types of heretical texts that which may or may not exist. Uh, one of the more interesting things that I've heard tell is there's a thing called the chronovisor, which is apparently the Catholic Church has a time machine
I've heard that.
in the archives. Yeah, so technically it's a functional time viewer. You actually don't go back in time. It basically creates a window so you can look in the past. Is the idea, which was created by Pellegrino Ernetti, which was an Italian priest and scientist, because he wanted to basically showcase, like, let's go back to the time of Christ and look at it. That sort of things they wanted to do. Now, supposedly, they actually did it, and a quote unquote copy of this image. Actually, sorry, Christ's crucifixion, and they photographed, actually, quote unquote, photographed Christ's crucifixion, and they actually showcased it in a 1972 issue of a weekly news magazine. Of course, 1972. I'm trying to track. I was trying to track down the picture, and I have not been able to find it. Um, Although supposedly that there's conflicting reports whether or not on there was a deathbed confession by Ernetti that it was not real, but there's other people saying no, it's real. So it's hard to say what's going on. Uh, but the fact is that the Catholic Church has a time machine.
Mm.
Really, of all organizations, it's not surprising. Of all people, if there one did exist, at least back in that time when that thing was created, which is back in the early days of. I mean, they built this thing with like cathode ray tubes and like cabinetry, so it was back in like their 30s and 40s. So the for the one
Mhm.
organization probably have the money to do it, it'll be them. I mean, outside of the Nazis, which we know how the Catholic Church and the Nazis liked each other too. So
Mhm. Yeah, like man, like I can only imagine like some of like just the random secret shit they have in there because there's stuff that's like you have to like be like I guess like high level Catholic to be able to even view like um there's stuff they like there's apparently like I don't know how true it is but I've read somewhere that's like there are things in the Vatican archives that the Pope's not even allowed to see.
well, it's like the president and the whole alien conspiracy stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
that's pretty much our American equivalent thereof. It's like supposedly there's things that even the president isn't allowed to know here. So
Mhm. Yeah. And speaking of that, you knew I was going to take it here, but evidence of alien life, we learn, is available in the Vatican secret archives, but thanks to the Science Channel, it is a secret no more. The Vatican secret archives is approximately 52 miles of shelving, we're told, and over 32,000 archives. The guy who said this did not disclose who told him this secret, but who needs evidence, right? Then a voiceover gets really melodramatic, but the secrets hidden within the Vatican can't stay buried forever. Now, new evidence may prove the Vatican is hiding actual aliens from the public. That's right, they can't play hide and seek forever. Send in the Navy SEALs. The program also claims that skulls with elongated heads and small faces resembling aliens were found in 1998 under the Vatican Library, but the access to the site has been denied. A voiceover asks, could these skulls be the remnants of aliens who once lived in the Vatican? Either that or the Vatican employs coneheads to work in its secret archives.
Well, I
I'm
mean,
sure, like, yeah, with as much power as they have, like, I'm sure they would try to suppress certain things that would make people question religion.
well, yeah, and various large-headed people like that. It explains the hats, the tall miters. You can hide those long, elongated heads.
Yeah, same thing with the Egyptians.
Yeah, so
Yeah, so honestly, it
it's
wouldn't surprise me if like the Vatican was like suppressing like like time travel or viewing into time, like you said, or you know proof of aliens or something like that, because proof of aliens would contradict a lot of faith, and
yes. I
also
mean,
trying to tell people like, hey, it turns out God's an alien. You good with that? Like that would just cause like mass hysteria.
oh, I know. And we when we do our next alien show, we will actually be discussing just that. So,
Not next
spoiler
week, but the
alert.
week after.
Oh, it was a couple of weeks, like 3 weeks.
Yeah. Well, it is
But
3 weeks.
yeah,
Yeah.
for anybody else who's watching this live, yes. Otherwise, you'll watch it whenever you do with our YouTube channel. So,
Mm-hmm.
but yes, yeah, we'll be talking aliens and religion, so that should be fun. So make sure you like and subscribe both on YouTube and here on Carney Show. It'd be great. Um, let's talk about something a little bit more modern. The fact is that there's a like when I mean modern, like in the past year or two. So the Archbishop Carlo Maria Vigano, who is a former Vatican ambassador to the United States, also an outspoken adversary to Pope Francis, who our current pope. Um, he actually he's trying to bring in QAnon into religious dark doctrine. Like he's like super like pro Trump and all that sort of stuff, and like attacking like the ominous global elite to like Bill Gates, the mainstream media. Um, Basically, he writes that the fate of the whole world is being threatened by a global conspiracy against God and humanity. uh, Emphasizing the epical importance of the imminent election. This happened shortly before this. Like basically, he says like Trump is the final garrison against the world dictatorship, and that Joe Biden is actually a person manipulated by the deep state. So yeah, the Q is in the fucking Catholic Church.
Of course. Um, I really don't get like. I mean, it kind of goes along with like how I feel about most churches. Like, I would trust the people running a tiny church over, I mean, we talk shit about televangelists, but like, what is the Vatican? Like, it
Oh
broadcasts
no,
all over
it's
the fucking world.
no, it's the ultimate Basically, is that's dude, Joel Osteen is Joel Osteen is like us in comparison to like something like like the Tonight Show, which would be the Vatican.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah.
really that's the level of difference, or or whatever these, or we're more of a chat, So that's the big level of difference. So it's one of those, yeah. I mean,
Yeah, like it's definitely a boys' club. Like, you know, like most religions, it's all men except for the nuns, and they're just used to take care of either other nuns or children. Also, there's back in a lot of times when a parent, like, he was like, okay, my this daughter got married and that daughter got married, nobody's marrying this daughter, and she's about to turn 15, so I'm just going to turn her into the convent because I don't want to deal with her anymore. And then
Yeah.
she's property of the church beyond that. And I don't even see how that makes sense, like, back then. But it's also, I mean, I do to an extent, because like it's I can't afford to feed you, but the church will take you in.
Well, that's how it was for the time period. Well, both genders, but yeah, especially like when yeah, you know, you can always go into the convent sort of stuff, or if you're really just kind of the you're really the troublemaker, you go to into the convent, that sort of stuff, or the ministry. Well, for men, for well-to-do families, not super rich, but well-to-do enough families. So the firstborn would get whatever the primary inheritance would be. Typically, the second born would go into the military, and the third would go into the church. And that's usually how it worked for a lot of the well-to-do families. Now, for women, basically, if they can't get them married off by the age of like I don't even 15 even sounds old. Uh, then yeah, they get repurposed and go to because at the time women were property. So
Yeah, back in the good old days.
yeah, making the world
No, I mean,
great
like,
again.
those were not the good old days. And I mean, shit, it's religion,
No.
like, especially like Catholicism, um, most religions, but Catholicism in particular, like, it suppresses women's rights a lot, unfortunately.
Oh, it's horrible. It suppresses rights of a lot of people, not
Oh
just
yeah,
like
for sure.
women.
But I was just going, like, kind of, I
Yeah,
guess, gender specific.
no, it's fair. No, it's I don't get it. But I mean, but I'm also one of those type of people that I'm very outspoken in my atheism because the reason being is looking into things like the fucking Catholic Church
Yeah.
makes me go, really? If
Yeah,
such
I
a
mean,
God
and I've
exists,
always felt like, I'm agnostic, and I always wonder about, religion, God. Well, religion not so much, God or higher powers or beings, and I kind of I like the ancient aliens theory. We were created, but I also feel like if aliens did create us, they've kind of abandoned us at this point. I'm like, okay, that's what happened there. Let's go try it again somewhere better.
well, that's the idea between the blind watchmaker theory when it comes to like people who are like deists and whatnot. They go, I believe in a higher power that created us and walked away. It's the blind watchmaker. They kind of
Yeah,
he built the machine and left. And so I go, I mean, that's deism. I mean, a lot of our founding fathers here in the United States were deists, not normal Christians, or at least not in Christians on any form that what exists today. Um,
yeah. I have no problem with belief. My problem lies in religion,
yeah,
because
that's like
religion, I know some great people who are, I mean, they claim to be Christian because that's kind of where their ideals fall, but they're not like, they accept me for me. They don't hate gay people. They don't hate black people. They're just normal people who happen to believe in God.
that's I have a really good friend that who's an Episcopalian priest. It's on the East Coast, and like we get along famously. Like we always joke that we're like it's like I'm the Richard Dawkins to his Archbishop of Canterbury, who are also very good famous friends. Richard Dawkins, noted atheist, and then the Archbishop of Canterbury, who basically runs the English Church. So but it's like he also never presses. He just we talk and have questions. It's one of those things I go. I think our having our conversations reaffirms our own thoughts on things, and so which makes it kind of interesting. But he also doesn't force anything. We just talk about stuff.
Yeah.
So, but he's a good
Yeah, I've
guy.
had plenty of like
So
very religious friends, like people who are very religious, but they're religious to the point where they're like, I accept you for who you are. You're a good person, and we can have a conversation about something without getting offended.
yeah,
Because I'm not going to try and offend somebody who just wants to talk. But if they're,
well, yeah,
forcing their beliefs down my throat, then I'm going to be a dick.
well, that's how it is. I've noticed like usually most people who actually went to school for religion, like seminary or just like in school, tend to be a lot more open with conversation than those who just this is what they tell me that the thing has to say. That sort of thing.
Yeah, like religion in general, just it fascinates me. Like what, why this? Is it because you formed your own thought? Did your parents, like you were just kind of it was ingrained in your growing up? I've seen people who are just extremely religious, but then find those little loopholes so they can, you know, do bad stuff.
Yeah.
Like I
Yeah. No,
I knew a girl who was a virgin because she was a good Christian. She was saving herself for marriage and all that, trying to go that route. But she like what was her number? Something ridiculous. Like she sucked like 130 dudes' dicks, and like took it did anal instead of vaginal, because technically still a virgin, and like fucked I don't know how many dudes, and it's like I don't think this is how it works. Like,
no, it doesn't. It's how it is. Anyways, back to what we were talking about a second ago. We're talking about the Vatican specifically. Um,
okay, well I got one right
so,
here because
all right, let's
interesting.
get you. Yeah, yeah,
Okay, so Pope John Paul I died in September 1978, so a little more recent.
yeah.
Only a month after his election to the papacy. The timing of his death and the Vatican's alleged difficulties with ceremonial and legal death procedures have fostered several conspiracy theories. British author David Yallop wrote extensively about unsolved crimes and conspiracies in his 1984 book, In God's Name, suggested that Pope Paul I died because he was about to uncover financial scandals allegedly involving the Vatican. John Cornwell responded to Yallop's charges in 1987 with A Thief in the Night, in which he analyzed the various allegations and denied the conspiracy. According to Eugene Kennedy, writing for the New York Times, Cornwell's book helps to purge the air of paranoia and conspiracy theory, showing how the truth, carefully excavated by any able journalist in a refreshing volume, does make us free. So, listen to the media. Listen to the Catholic
Yeah,
media.
yeah, yeah. That doesn't
See,
sound.
people think Jewish folks run everything. No, it's the Catholics.
Well, the reason why people think the Jewish folks are causing problems is because of the Catholics. Uh,
They started it.
that's really like the whole the whole Jewish things and Masons, or that's all shit that the Catholics started to keep people from like looking at their shit. No, what? No, 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 no. This thing right here. No, that's what you're thinking is. That's the Jews. It's the
Yeah,
Masons. They're the ones doing all this. All.
and that's why the
Uh,
Jewish folks made their space lasers.
that's right. Um, Now, what's interesting about the Catholic Church and stuff like that is they have different like orders of things like the Benedictines, the Franciscans, the Dominicans, and they have the Jesuits. And the Jesuits I want to talk about because what's really interesting about the Jesuits is unlike the other orders, they don't have a set type of habit or robes. They also
Yeah,
don't
the
have
Jesuits are fucking weird.
they don't have traditional monasteries. They travel a lot. And rumor has it that's because the Jesuits are actually the fucking spy world, the Catholic spies. And they supposedly did some really, really crazy shit. Like, I actually have a few of these. I'm going to go over them because I figured it'd be a nice fun thing to fill this out. Let's start with 1588 with the Spanish Armada.
Yeah, I know Spanish
Yeah,
Armada.
yeah, yeah, Spanish Armada. Yeah, so apparently, they were actually they were actually wary of sending the Jesuits into England in the 16th century because of weird dangers, but like the fact is they can do so. General Superior Everard Mercurian S.J. was wary of actually sending him in because of not only the real danger of anything happened, because uh, any sort of political issues, because 1588 everything's about politics, and Spain was huge with the Catholic Church versus England, who had just became its own church. Uh, with with Henry VIII and then his daughter Queen Elizabeth I taking over. Um, Now supposedly two of these Jesuit priests came in trying to do some nefarious things, like I don't know, like trying to convince people to
Speaking of
to
nefarious
switch
things, real
sides.
quick,
Yeah,
Joe ordered us tacos and they have radishes on them for some fucking reason.
that's another
And
type of
carrots. What the
spicy.
fuck? Oh, there might be the pickled
That's a
carrots.
weird
The spicy.
spicy.
I don't want it. I don't want it. Fine.
Now, a lot of what the Jesuits were trying to do at that point in time, was trying to it's like they were trying to supplant everything to make sure that the Mary Queen of Scots, which was arguably the more legitimate claim to the throne, to have her take charge. And of course, when Mary gets executed, they kill a bunch of stuff like that. So the Jesuits going in trying to come lead political turmoil just so that way the church would have a better hold. Start there. How about 1605 with the gunpowder plot? The gunpowder plot. I mean, it's like remember the 5th of November. Um, And so the gunpowder plot is a failed assassination attempt against King James I by you know by English Catholics, because James was the successor to Elizabeth, and nobody was going to fucking touch Elizabeth. But they kept trying to kill her and stuff like that. Well, supposedly it's the Jesuits who helped sneak a lot of that gunpowder in place for them to try to blow shit up. So there's that. How about the Great Fire of London in 1666? Um, how about things like, I mean, while people argue to say it's like the like just like a weird happenstance and things like that, but like because of the huge anti-Catholic Catholicism within England at the time, um, that supposedly that the Jesuits are ones who basically lit the matches to get London to burn, and making sure it would burn, because like what, half or three-quarters of London burned down during this time period. I mean, this is all it's like it was also so the reason why is because of England was England was the first major power to thumb its nose at the church, and so the church is going to do everything it could to fuck them over. Didn't work. I still have more. Like there's still like three other major things, including things like the French Revolution or the Titanic.
Yeah, I actually just stumbled across a website that has some pretty good ones too. So I mean, we've
Ah,
got
yeah,
about maybe about 10 minutes left before we do our
yeah,
goodbyes and everything. Do you want to go
yeah,
back and forth?
yeah. Sure. Let's keep. I just told a bunch of stuff. I think I'm gonna end with talking about the Titanic, anyways. So
Yeah, no, yeah, I want to hear more about the Titanic, but I found this one pretty cool. It explains a little better than I kind of knew it. It's since we were talking about it earlier, it's strange things found in the archives of the Vatican. And one of the prized possessions of the archives is a letter which changed the course of history. The word letter doesn't quite do justice to this massive missive. It's a 3-foot wide parchment bearing 81 wax seals from English noblemen, clergymen, and even the Archbishop of Canterbury. It was sent to pressure Pope Clement VII into allowing Henry VIII to annul his marriage to Catherine of Aragon, those freeing him to tie the knot with Anne Boleyn. So, sent in 1530, the document is remarkable for the strength of its wording. Far from being cowed by the might of the Catholic Church, the men behind the letter promised to go to extreme measures and find a remedy elsewhere unless the Pope gives his blessing to Henry. The threat went unheeded, and soon after that, Henry broke with Rome, triggering the English Reformation. Amazingly, this letter went missing in the archives for a long time and was accidentally rediscovered under a chair in 1926.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like common knowledge. Like that's some of the. I mean, sadly, we had to learn some religious stuff in school, but that did kind of change the course of history.
Well, I mean, it's historical in that respect. That they basically is like, yeah, this is like I mentioned a second ago. Like a major world power went, "Fuck you, church," and
Yeah,
and then
I
for
mean,
the
then
next hundred,
it's happened several times with Catholicism and the Vatican, because I mean, given the chance, I'm sure there would be like a Catholic ticket on the political ballot at some point,
yeah,
or a Christian
well,
ticket, or that's one of the
yeah,
reasons like separate church and state, because you don't want it to be a religious state.
yeah,
We've seen how that works out, but people still want to do it because religion.
yeah. So let's talk about the
What you
French
got?
Revolution. Oh, the French Revolution.
Yeah,
We'll
for
talk about the
sure.
French Revolution. All right. So when the French Revolution happened, a lot of people were trying to figure out what, like, we know what the end effects were, but how did it come to be? So Augustin Barriel, who was a former French Jesuit, once again Jesuits, uh, who sought refuge in England from 1792, wrote an influential account which identified an elite group of members of secret societies as the masterminds for the French Revolution. He focused in particular in a man by the name of Adam Weishaupt. For those people who don't know who that is, this is the guy who founded the Illuminati.
Okay.
No, that's legit. So basically, a lot of things is like basically he throughout these stuff that's where he's talking about. Basically, he just goes. He inverted his theory to make the Jesuits seem to be part of this elite group of masterminds. Now, the Jesuit order had been suppressed well before the Revolution of 1773 and wasn't restored until 1814. I mean, it still did exist, but they were like kind of going, all right, cool, back of the bus. You
Yeah.
guys fucked up way too many times with, the whole trying to stop England. Uh, and so that sort of thing. So supposedly, the Jesuits, along with the Illuminati, are responsible for the French Revolution.
Okay. Okay. Wouldn't surprise me. Loose lips sink ships, and I'm like, yeah, I'm sure they were just walking around and be like, yo, I'm tired of this shit. Are you tired of this shit? And then just like going to the next guy, like, hey, I don't know who or what you are or what you believe, but you tired of this shit? Because I'm tired of this shit. And that's all. That's
Yeah,
all it
but
used to take back in the day. And now we have better communication. We can get across things faster, and people still don't know the difference between there, and there. So I don't know, man. Like we got
now,
smarter and dumber at the same time, which makes sense for probably what the Catholic Church wants us to be, the government wants us to be.
yeah, yeah, I'm tired of this shit too. But ooh, cat meme.
Yeah, but cat meat. Watch this video, like, and oh, man, I wonder what it'd be like if the Jesuits got their way.
I got more to talk about Jesuits.
Hmm?
I can talk all day long about the fucking Jesuits specifically. I've got
Yeah,
that's it. Like I got the Titanic. If you got something else, I'll know the Titanic and then one
and
other
I'll
small
I'll do another
bombshell.
one real quick. I'll just read another one off of this, but I mean, I'd be down to like, do you want to make a series? Like, we'll just kind of talk about every religion a little bit.
I'm down. Yeah, I'll talk. I will. We'll probably have to broadcast from undisclosed locations when talking about Islam, but otherwise, yes.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't want to badmouth it or anything. Like, I'm trying not to badmouth Catholicism too much, but it was, a major power in history. So,
No, it's the we're talking about stuff that it's easily findable because that's how we found it. It's not like we're trying
yeah,
to deep dive or like go like
yeah.
all
I
like
looked up
dark
a bunch of
webby on
things. I
it.
read a bunch of random stuff, and found some cool stuff. And this one just popped up. So,
Yeah. All right.
um, so originally formed to protect pilgrims in the Holy Land, the Knights Templar became a powerful force during the Crusades, not only dominating battlefields but controlling vast reserves of wealth and influence. before they were eventually killed off by their political and religious opponents. Anyone who's ever been beguiled by Dan Brown-style conspiracy theories about his infamous organization will be intrigued to know the archives possess an ominous document written by the Knights Templar themselves. This is where it gets weird, and kind of like, think about it, put it in perspective. This is a 60-meter long parchment containing the testimonies of 231 knights who were on trial for alleged blasphemy and immorality, accused of such heinous crimes as spitting on crosses and homosexuality. The Templar order would eventually be crushed and many knights brutally executed. The scroll in the archives is a chilling artifact from this turbulent time. Yeah, blasphemy and immorality was, spitting on a cross and, touching another dude.
Well, plus it's one of those things that because it's all here, like everybody's using things for hearsay. So it's like, how do you prove you're not gay?
Bring a chick right here, right now. I'll prove I ain't gay.
There are people who did.
But that's really about it. Like,
that's why those people go, well, prove to me that you didn't spit on the cross.
Yeah.
But that was
DNA evidence.
Well, the thing is that for the time period, that was all on purpose because they're basically they're going, all right, cool. I saw them do this thing, so that way that becomes a political vacuum that now I will fill, and suddenly I'm now much richer and much more influential. Catholic Church, everybody.
Yeah. So let's talk about this Titanic thing.
The Titanic thing. All right, so there was a 32-year-old Irish Jesuit scholastic on board the Titanic. There actually was one on there. He had been given a present of a ticket to travel from Southampton to Queenston. Now, famously, he took many photographs in his short time on board, but according to theory, he was actually the Jesuit master of Captain Edward Smith, who was also in on the plot and commanded him to sink the ship by driving into the iceberg. Now, why would the Catholics and the Jesuits want to do such a thing? Well, the reason why is because they wanted to do away from certain enemies with the United States Federal Reserve. People who were on the Titanic included people like high people in finance, like Benjamin Guggenheim. The guy who had now has like an impressive museum along with other stuff. Isidor Straus, also a person big in the stuff like that, and John Jacob Astor. And the Astors are like the end all of the time period, were like the end all be all when it came to high society families in the United States, especially New York. People who like bought and traded in the millions of dollars in that time period, which would have been like in the billions today. So supposedly they're wrecking the Titanic to get rid of these people, so that way they can scoop in during the power vacuum and take over stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So,
man, so a couple people who just happened to be on a big boat pissed off the Vatican. So the Vatican murdered. How many people died? Was it over 200 people?
Yeah, a couple hundred people. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't remember exactly how many, but yeah, a ton of fucking people died on the Titanic. So they just straight up, it's a casualties of war, I guess.
Yeah, supposedly, yeah.
God, that's insane.
You know what? You know what's the crazy? Yeah, it's crazy.
No,
you know what? Here's my final bombshell when it comes to the Jesuits. Our current Pope Francis, before he was a pope, he was a cardinal, part of the Jesuit order.
He seems a little more, if I'm thinking correctly, seems a little more progressive, I guess.
Yes and no. I mean, he's still the anti-gay. Like the Catholic Church has been.
I thought he said homosexuality was okay, but you had to stay a homosexual.
But no, okay, no. In fact, you can be homosexual, you just can't act on it.
Okay, because I was
So
thinking
yeah,
what he said was you
because
can be a homosexual, but you have to keep being a homosexual. You can't come back and be change your mind and be straight. So I mean,
no,
there's
it's like
still like it's still like one or the other extreme. There's no like in between for them, which is bullshit.
yeah,
But whatever.
yeah. I mean, but yeah, but he signed off on the no gay marriage, no gay civil unions, that sort of stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's like still the anti-gay,
Yeah.
and
Well, I
who
mean,
knows?
gay unions don't procreate more Catholics.
Yeah, as the Monty Python's people that says like every sperm is sacred.
Every sperm is sacred. Oh my god, I haven't watched that in so long. We were just talking about that the other night. That was
Yeah.
The Meaning of Life. It's a good movie. It's a really good movie.
I love it. Like it's one of my favorite. There's what's one scene I don't care for, but otherwise I love the entire movie.
Which
Um,
scene?
I do not care for dinner. I don't care for the dinner scene at all.
That's what everybody says. That's one of my favorites, just because it's so gross and
I,
weird.
I get why people do, and I get why it's there. It's just like but that's one that's literally like every time I come, like every time I'm at that point, fast forward. But I'm also not. I don't really care for vomit in general, so that's just
Yeah,
me. So, anyways, so
I
that's
just
what we're talking about. Yeah, so that's our first, probably our first dive. Maybe we might do another dive into the Vatican and the Catholic Church. Eventually, we'll talk about the other major religions and probably some minor ones because there's some fucked up minor ones too. That'd
oh
be fun
yeah,
to
no,
talk
I want
about.
to talk about some of the practices and some minor religions. I mean, also technically, if we're going to do big religions, we could talk about voodoo. We could talk
Yeah,
about
yeah.
tribal religions. We could talk about, oh man, what's that? What are they called? Uh, because of the Vietnam War, I believe, there was this series of islands that the Americans
Oh, the
used
ones.
to jump to get there. And then like there was one soldier that like they found out his name, and the Americans show up, they bring giant tanks and planes, and they're dropping supplies, the people get new clothes and food and all
those
kinds
are
of
the
shit.
supply
So they
worshippers.
started
Actually,
what is it?
yeah, they're the. I don't remember the name of it, but yeah, they basically is they weirdly worship American supplies. It's
Yeah,
kind of what the religion. Actually, that's actually older than that. I want to say it's like a Korean War, maybe even the World War II.
I don't remember
But yeah,
exactly
like
what it was.
I know what you're talking. I just don't remember the name of it because I haven't thought. Like literally, you just said, I go, I haven't thought about that in years. But yeah, like basically, it's part of their worship has to do with the fact is that it's because of Americans dropping supplies on that island because it became an island
Yeah.
depot that they kind of worshipped
Um,
around that.
the cargo cult of Tana.
Cargo, yeah, that's the cargo cults. Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm down to talk about that weird stuff, and then we can talk about some stuff like, we can talk fucking
Small island in the
Mormonism. Like,
southern part of members of the cargo cult. Yeah. Japanese soldiers fled into the island. Okay, so it was yeah,
World War II.
fighting
Yeah,
Japan.
I knew it was like old enough, but yeah,
Yeah.
no, I read about it in the old Ripley's Believe It or Not book. That's how I knew about it. Because the fucking old Ripley's Believe It or Not books were amazing. Um, but we'll talk about that. We'll talk about some of the bigger stuff. Although if I ever want to make it big in Hollywood, we can't talk about Scientology. I'm kidding. We're totally gonna fucking about talking Scientology sometime. Uh, anyway, but like
It's yeah.
that's gonna be a
Scientology is
while
wild. I
now.
really want to read Dianetics sometime.
I have read Dianetics,
Yeah, and I really want to read it.
and it's
But if I buy
yeah,
a copy, I
it's a
just don't want to be put on a list. Like,
Oh, that's I like somebody gave it to me or I found one. That's how I came across it. Or I was really early enough because like the Dianetics book like dropped in the '90s really, and so that's when I kind of came across it back when like L. Ron
mhm.
Hubbard was still being a legit trying to be a legit like sci-fi author at the same time. So it just became easy. And
Yeah,
I
he
read
was
a lot of
also a
those
Western
Battlefield.
writer.
I read a lot of those Battlefield Earth books way back then, and not all of them, but I read quite a bit of them. Uh, but anyway, we'll chat about that some other time. Let's get our plugs out of the way. What do you got going on?
Yeah, I really got nothing. Yeah, nothing on the calendar that I can see up until next week. I changed stupid live stream to Mondays, and
Cool. Yeah.
yeah, I don't have a guest yet, but normally we do gaffing. We do we're gonna start like maybe 7 o'clock. I'll do stupid live stream, and then about 8 o'clock we'll do trivial non-pursuit. And yeah, Monday nights hangs. So
Yeah, that's gonna be that'll be on the Cabin Fever live stream network, which is a really really cool network that I mean I've been on the show been on for as
yeah,
well.
kind of
So
where we
make
started.
sure that is, and I mean I still support it readily. Like in fact, right here for the Twitch stream for Carney Show, I already have that preset, so that way if I don't have mine, like I don't have anything recording at that time, it auto goes to that channel anyway. So even if you tune in here to Carney Show, you're still gonna watch that show. That's how it works. I'm not gonna jump on any laurels over there. I want to make sure that stuff supports too. So it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Hell yeah.
And then of course we're gonna talk. But we'll talk about what we're gonna talk about next week once I get done with my plugs here. So right after this show, we're gonna do the Late Night Fix, which is my movie, and it's got a movie called Z, a Zombie Musical, which was made here in Austin, Texas. Has a lot of like notable people in the burlesque world from Austin. I'm just give it there because their real names are listed, and I don't want to say who they are. But if you watch the movie, you go, "Hey, that's so and so," and it's crazy and wacky. It's music. It's zombies. It's a musical. It has puppets.
Nice.
It's gonna have a good time. Then on tomorrow at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, we're bringing a new show here on Carney Show called Planet Lisdom. Liz de Savoy from out of Canada has a really cool show called Planet Lisdom, and we're bringing that show here to Twitch. And
Nice.
this first episode, she's going to be talking with Max Awesome, who is the lead singer for Blood Opera, who's this really cool horror rock group that Skabz, you need to be on board for this band. They do a song about Hellraiser, so it's really really good. They're really good. And what's different like than them versus a lot of horror rockers is like he's like really melodic sounding versus like the getting into that sort of stuff. So it's really nice.
Hellraiser is my jam.
I know you're gonna dig the shit out of them. And then at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, because that's when the Devil's Hour is going to be playing. I've got a really cool show. I've got this weird band from out of London, England, named Black Midi. Shandar from Clowntown NOLA, who are friends from Clowntown that we're good friends with them.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Hell
I've
yeah.
got and then Vigil of War, which is this really great band from out of L.A. And then all sorts of other crazy stuff. I've got cool like short films and just weird shit that I like to perform and do. Then on Thursday, because it's right here. I'll have the G spot where my show from Saturday moved to Thursdays, and I'll be talking with Joe Bretta of Old Humble Whiskey, and we're going to be talking
Hell
whiskey. We're
yeah.
going to talk about dumb stuff. It's going to be a lot of fun. Then we'll have some cool. I think we're going to do another edition of Souse right afterward, or a classic version of the G spot where I've done several of those as well. And then next week, this time, Skabz and I, we're going to be talking about science, weird science, all sorts of
Yeah,
weird
I want
science
like
experiments and stuff like that, and just getting wacky and
not
weird.
even like not even conspiracy or possible world ending. I want to bring in some of those too, but like I just looked it up real quick. Just one of the websites I found that I've kind of been going through because it's funny as hell. See-through wood. Scientists made
Yeah,
see-through wood.
it's just weird shit. No, we're not trying to get heavy with this. So I think this is not designed to be heavy. It's just all right, cool. We're going to talk about some weird science experiments that have happened in the past, and some of those have amounted, have amounted into some good stuff, and some of those we're just going, oh, so that
Yeah.
happened.
I mean, like, and also like crazy inventions that came out of nowhere. Like, there was a teacher who accidentally made whiteout. Shit like that.
Whiteout was actually made by Mike Nesmith, who is of the Monkees. That was his mom. She was a secretary.
Yeah, weird. I didn't know all that.
Yeah, Mike Nesmith from the Monkees. It's his mom invented Whiteout. Who was just a secretary, like a steno pool, and just like was just getting annoyed with like mistakes and figured it out, which like just weird, like just took paint and like
Yeah, just made
watered
it
it
her sink. I
down.
thought she was a teacher, but yeah, secretary makes perfect sense too.
So yeah, this is a weird fact I know because that's how it is. But yeah, we're gonna be talking weird science, so it's gonna be a lot of fun and weird. So everybody, thank you guys for tuning in and watching the show, whether it's now or now, whenever you're watching it. Um, we
Watch it
definitely do
now.
appreciate, yeah, or then or now. Like we talked about the Chrono Viewer earlier. Well, we're gonna,
Yeah, watch
uh,
another one.
any, yeah. So, anyways, everybody be cool, be safe, be groovy, and as always, keep drinking.